Hello, good afternoon. It's Monday, the 23rd of September. The Monday after Everton didn't lose, Jack, in the Premier League. What a time to be alive.
I mean, it's one way of putting it, isn't it? You could easily turn around and say the morning after Everton once again failed to win a game where they had the lead, but it's all perspective, isn't it?
It's perspective, Jack. It's
all perspective.
Glass half empty, glass half full, whatever. Potato. All of that.
See, I've never understood that saying, because I've never known anyone to call it potato. Like, tomato, because like the Americans
people are just
say
throwing
it,
a slant on it, though, aren't they? That's all it is.
I feel like they're taking the mick there a little bit, to be honest.
Possibly. And why wouldn't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them. It's the modern world, isn't it?
It is the modern world. Very much the modern world, Jack. Yeah, but without going into massive details, Jack, what did you make of Everton at the weekend?
A very good first half performance that wasn't followed up on, which that's been the language around Everton for the last few weeks now, really, hasn't it? As a whole, a good performance that wasn't followed up on, and look, to a degree, I do sympathise because I felt like we had control of the game for most of that first half, and obviously with the weather going the way it did, it became slightly more difficult to play the style of football we had been playing once the pitch gets so wet and that. And so I do sympathise to a degree, but I think once again substitutions have impacted us negatively, so that again falls on the manager for me.
His substitutions were atrocious at the weekend for me. I thought Lee took Lindstrom off at a time when he was still very much in the game and had something to offer, and I just thought it was a negative substitution. Because I don't mind Jack Harrison. Some people have issues with him. I don't have any issues with him, but there's a time and a place if you're throwing on that kind of sub. I think when you're a player like Lindstrom and you're growing into it, and did he miss a great chance after about 90 seconds? He did. Great ball from Jai, should have scored. He was on his own. He's got to at least hit the target. He had another good shot which the keeper saved, and then he's put one over, but he's getting in them positions now. And I think, you know what's so basic that it sounds stupid me even saying this, but the fact that he's a right-footed player playing on the right means he can actually just get the ball out of his feet and cross it early. And he's put a couple of cracking balls, fizzed them across. And it was just giving us an outlet. He also received the ball on the half-turn with his body opened out to take. And that is, if you look at any kind of coaching and you watch any kind of teams, and this is something that I think on the Arsenal documentary Arteta was talking about with Saka, opening your body out more when you're receiving a ball. Because Jack Harrison's left-footed, he almost takes the ball facing our goal. So you've got to get it round to take it. Where Lindstrom, and that split second gives you that opportunity to open your body up. And
especially going on the break as well.
That's what I'm talking about. Not you can receive the ball all different ways. It's irrelevant, especially defending or you're trying to keep the ball. But if you're trying to break out, just being facing the right way and able to take the ball comfortably and then not have to check back. That's the biggest thing, is that you can get out your feet and throw it across, because we've got the player on the other side wanting to come inside. Even though when Jai does throw, in fact, the one he put into Lindstrom, I think he crossed with his left foot anyway. But in general, he wants to cut back in as we see with his goal. Where on the other, I think it's not helpful when both of your wingers do that and neither of your fullbacks are on the outside.
Well, no, because you're cutting yourself off at the knees, aren't you? If your fullbacks don't go forwards, which ours don't, although, Ashley Young did do very well for the goal, but it came from a set-piece situation, didn't it, where he was already up the pitch. They don't have licence to go and maraud almost, do they? So if your wingers are constantly coming inside, not only are you losing that option of your fullbacks going wide, but like you say, it is that time that you're losing in those split-second situations, especially when you are trying to play on the break a bit more. It's crucial. But yeah, I like Lindstrom, and I think, to be honest, it does seem a nice level of chemistry between those three behind the striker, with McNeil and NJ and Lindstrom. And obviously NJ's been more out on the left, but there is almost an understanding between him and McNeil. I've noticed developing on the pitch where one can go and come inside, and if NJ comes inside, McNeil might go and occupy that space. Almost, and I think that's a nice little understanding to have between two players on the pitch, and maybe part of what we've been missing in our team, these little on the pitch relationships, and that sort of you go, I'll stay confusing the opposition, giving yourself more passing lanes to open up, and I think that is a nice little combination we've got going there, and Jesper Lindstrom suits that style of football, because we know sometimes his decision-making's not been brilliant if he's been through on goal, and, you know, there is the argument that he is a little bit too lightweight at times as well, and all that taken into consideration, he is a decent technical footballer.
We did say last week, a lot of it looked confidence, though.
Yeah.
We? That's why.
And that probably is a big part of it, and that'll come from continuing to be in the team and continuing to have success, because I think a lot of fans were happy with his performance over the weekend.
Done well.
Or, I mean, you know, that's better, at least what I've took from it.
It's got better. Doncaster, he showed a couple of things, but even I'm saying that the game passed them by a little.
He's showing his rustiness,
but then he did sort of create the goal, didn't he? And then obviously he come on at Tottenham and he was okay. In fact, I think he had Everton's only attempt on goal that day at Spurs. Come on at Villa and couldn't get into it. That's fine. Played against Southampton. Some good, some bad. Done all right, but missed some really good chances. But on Saturday, it was his best performance. I think he's just getting better and better. And hopefully he can sort of nail that down now and give us options. But I think a lot of it will be confidence. It's rustiness. It's not playing. He didn't have a great time at Napoli. We said all this last week, and it's about building into it. I think once he gets a goal, I think his confidence will soar, and then we will see. He was a good player. If Everton would have got him when he left Germany, everyone would have been going on about what a great signing that is. We've got him when his stock dropped, obviously, and he's only on loan, although Everton have got an option to buy him.
Yeah, but now I think we'd all like to see that, wouldn't we? And continue to grow in his confidence. Because if you watch him from when he played in Germany and you look at some of the things in isolation he's done at Everton where he has shown his quality, I think there is a player there who could potentially not necessarily run the game for us, because we don't always have enough of the ball to have anyone running the game, but dictate the play for us and having the ability to, you know, either take it out wide or come inside and take his man on, because he is a dribbler. And look, he's not a right winger really, but he's the closest we've got in terms of not just what we brought in the summer, because he was almost brought in as a wing option, but just throughout the whole squad really, because you look at Harrison, who's been playing on that right hand side, and I think every time he plays in that position, the argument for he has to be on the left really gets even stronger.
We saw against Southampton, didn't we, when he come on down the left, although the manager had took the option off in the middle, put a couple of great balls in with his left foot on the run, because he didn't have to check back. You know, and that's his game. But listen, it was, you know, he done well. And I'm not going to be that guy, but I am going to be that guy, is that where McNeil is playing. I've advocated for this for a long time now. If he's going to be in the side, that's the position he has to play. He can't play wide. I think it's, like you said, I think it's really good he's got the option to just drop in and cover.
But he doesn't have to be there.
But that shouldn't be where he starts, because he isn't quick. He's all right with the ball, running with the ball, but he's not a sprinter. He's never going to be the ball played inside the fullback for him to run onto. He doesn't pick the ball up and drive us up the pitch from a wing area anywhere near enough, but he's decent at doing it in those central areas. And he has got a pass on him, which we saw for the opportunity for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. It was a lovely little ball, that. Dom's done, in my opinion, done everything right. It's it back across the keeper. Keeper's made a save. And so I think McNeil is the better than Dwight McNeil, of course there is. But is he performing much better in this team, playing where he is right now, than he was off the left-hand side? I certainly think so.
Yeah, I'd say it hides his limitations a lot more. And maybe that sounds harsh, but I think there's still parts of his game that aren't massively fitted to that number 10 role. I think, you know, there's times...
I'm talking about it, when you're coaching.
You look at your player and you go, where are you best?
How can I get the best out of you?
And number 10.
Would we choose to have him in there? No, we'd have a James Rodriguez level ability footballer in there, or someone who's really dynamic in there. And we know that Lindstrom and Jai both sort of want to play in that role. But to get the best out of Dwight, I think that's where you're playing.
Yeah, because it's not always square pegs and square holes, is it? Sometimes you've got to go, well, it's not perfect, but out of the bunch, this is the best fit for this position. And for you, it's the best fit. Even if you're not a complete natural in this position, it's getting the most out. Yeah, it's not asking you to do as many things that you're not necessarily capable of as a footballer at this level, because you don't have the pace, you're not two-footed, you don't always take your man on directly. So, yeah, I think moving him out from the wing, it is work, and I think long term, obviously, you're going to have to look at addressing that further. But I think with our current setup, it's getting the most out of Dwight, and we're seeing with NJ, and he is the star of the show, isn't he? And he's working on the left, and he's doing really well there with the freedom he's getting. So, yeah, I think at the moment with our current tools, we're getting the most out of what we've got in terms of those attacking players, assuming Lindstrom stays in the side, because for me he should. I know, obviously, there was doubts about Harrison through the week, and maybe that's why he didn't start. But for me, Lindstrom's showing a slightly higher level of just football and ability and intelligence on the pitch. That Harrison, obviously, we know he's a hard worker. We know he's got a decent goal record at Leeds, so he is capable in front of goal. But just watching how we play with Lindstrom in the side versus Harrison in the side, not even just at the weekend with the substitution, just as a whole, I'm liking what Lindstrom gives us, and I think there is something there. So that's another one where we need to look at and go, okay, you're a talented footballer. How are we getting the most out of you now? What do we need to do with you on the pitch? What do we need to give you around you to get even more out of you? And that could be a tactical change, or it could just be working with Lindstrom to help get him more confidence back in himself, which seems to be the consensus, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. At least we look like we've got a goal in us. That's the biggest thing, isn't it? And then maybe them four right now are Everton's best four. Calvert-Lewin, McNeil just behind them, and then those two in the wide areas. And obviously we've still got Yusuf Chimiti to come back, and we've got Armando Broja as well, who will massively help us.
And it'll be interesting once he does come in, because I remember you and John spoke about it when we signed him, obviously, but would there potentially be the option to play him off the right? And obviously he wouldn't play wouldn't play there as a natural winger, but someone who does come inside. But when we have the ball, obviously, and has another one of those roles where his position changes based on where we are on the pitch, it's possibly an option, isn't it?
Possibly, because Lindstrom, did he do that much work running the other way at the weekend? It's whether Broja can do it. Could Broja be someone who plays off Calvert-Lewin where McNeil is?
But then it depends on the opposition, doesn't it? And what you're looking for against the opposition and what you feel like you need in that game. But it will be nice to have those options, at least, because that's not a luxury we've always had over the last couple of years.
No, not at all. So, yeah, for me, like I said, a bit 2 points dropped. They weren't great, Leicester. And them games, the way the game played out, I'm unsure if Everton will have a more comfortable day away from home than what they had on Saturday, because even conceding the goal, we were under no pressure. We just give a corner away and score from it.
No, I mean, I think they grew into the game a bit more in the second half.
We made the changes and it took the impetus out of the game, didn't it? I mean, and Diddy who headed over with an open goal.
Coley.
Oh, Coley, it was, sorry. It was Coley,
yeah.
He should have scored. Open goal, wasn't it? Headed it over, but frustrating for me, very frustrating, because like I said, it was the opportunity there to get that first win under our belt, and you have to take them chances when they come along, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, some might look and say, look, it's a point on the road. They're never bad results, and I understand that, and it is our first point of the season, but watching the game as a whole and watching how comfortable we were, especially in that first half, I was disappointed, to be honest, and I think the majority seem to feel the same.
Well, we've had the exact same start now as last season. 1 point from 15. So that's not great, is it? And the questions have got to be asked, I imagine, about the pre-season now that you've done the same thing 2 years on the run. It's not good enough. That has to change. We'll see. Moving on, obviously, some news this morning. Imagine my surprise. Could I have been less surprised this morning to see Friedkin back in the thing? No, I think we said it all summer when he stepped away. The most obvious thing it was like Everton being 2-0 up in the game and not winning. You knew exactly what was going to happen, and they're back in, and looks like they've got it now, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of sources are reporting that it looks like a go around. Just looking at this BBC article here, they're saying it suggests it could be close, but there's obviously no official announcement. It's interesting, isn't it? Because although obviously, like we've said, they never really went away. John Textor very much seemed to at least moved into the front of the queue, hadn't he? And obviously, we know this is more just because it's his personality and its style, but he was talking like someone who was about to own the football club. And I think while we all knew, look, a lot of people in that situation who were as far along as Textor was with the club wouldn't necessarily come out and say those things. Still, you associate that with he's going to buy the football club, as if someone does talk like that and, talking about potential future plans for the football club and they're addressing rumours about what he's going to do when he owns the club, people will naturally think, well, he's getting it, isn't he? And, he probably is still involved in some degree, isn't he? Because he does want to buy the club, but Friedkin at the current moment in time seems like the easier deal to do because they're not waiting on having to sell shares in another club. And we do know, of course, Mashiri went to them before he went to Textor because they had their exclusivity period in the summer. We know Textor and Mashiri have had the gentleman's agreement. The Textor was involved and he was close, but it was never an official exclusive period. So that has left the door open for the Friedkins to come back in. And yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we spoke last week and, I remember you saying... you do feel a little bit scorned by the fact they could have had us in the summer and, potentially set us straight a couple of months back and maybe we'd be in a better position now. And, do you still feel like that? Or you still have doubts over them?
I have doubts over them, yeah, with what's going on in Rome. Don't think they're ideal, but then I don't think anyone's ideal. I've said this all along, haven't I? They've all got big red flags by them. Yeah, I'm a bit pissed off with them because they could have had this all sewn up 2 months ago. But obviously, the businessmen, which have also said, and that they were going to argue every last penny because that's what businessmen do, don't they? That's why they're billionaires, and I'm not.
I don't think that's the only reason.
That's probably not the only reason, but having that kind of mindset is. Will he be good for Everton? Hopefully they're amazing for Everton and get everything sorted because there's nothing, the thing that's the worst thing about us at the moment is there's no direction from anywhere. The club is just stranded in the middle of the ocean. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing going on. And I think they need direction very quickly. There's things like his son's going to run us. How do we feel about that? Don't know. That seems a bit weird, but that's the way it is.
Is that potentially, though, just a potential get around, thinking long term in terms of, obviously, clubs in Europe, there's rules around, these can't be in the same competitions if they're owned by the same fella. So I don't
think Dan Friedkin does anything. I think his son runs Rome.
Oh, does he?
I don't think he does any. I don't think he'll be...
I thought he was the main man at Rome.
I think it's just part of their portfolio.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. Listen... They've got the money and they've got the dough. They say they have. They've got the money, and I think they've paid off, or it's seemingly like they're gonna have paid off a lot of the debt. I think the debt will be down to 100-odd million or something or whatever, which is really manageable. Which is great.
Yeah.
A-cap paid off. That's gone. So all of them stories about they can't do that because of the court case, load of bollocks, which it's always been.
Yeah.
All along. So all that nonsense has been spouted for months.
But I think it just shows that they didn't want to, but they were willing to if it meant getting the club. But when they had the option not to.
You offered me a top for 200 quid and I thought I could get it for 100. I'm not going to want to give you 200. I either don't have to. And that's good. That's good business acumen. I am very much on the fence, mate, with whoever takes. The same as with Textor. Textor talks a great game, but has he got any game to back it up? Who knows? The same with Friedkin, the same with whoever. The actions will speak louder than the words at the end of the day. If they come in and make changes immediately, big changes immediately, I'm all in with them. Come in, get those changes right straight away. New CEO in immediately, board in immediately. Look at the football side. Think, you'd have to be crazy to think that's going well at the moment. Assess that. then you start going, these mean business.
Yeah, it'd be a very easy thing to do, wouldn't it? And it'd make a lot of sense. And I think automatically it'd buy you a lot of favour with the fan base, because that's what we all want, and it's what needs to happen. And the Texter argument was, he is a bit of a maverick, and he's been outspoken, and I think it seems like there was a guarantee really that if he came into this club he'd change everything, because he's hinted to wanting to change things anyway. And I do get all that, but I think if these Friedkins, if they're sensible businessmen, which they seem like they are,
and women,
well,
big group, aren't they, the Friedkin group?
But if they do
they're
sensible
very corporate,
business,
aren't they?
Yeah,
they're very corporate.
But if they do sensible business, they'll come in and change anything anyway, because that's what sensible business is when it comes to Everton. Everton needs to change.
Well, I think they changed. I think when they went in at Rome, they got rid of 30% of the staff immediately. And then they assessed the rest. So
yeah, and that's a very American way of doing things.
Texter would have done the same, and I'm sure the other lot, 777, would have done the same, and I'm sure MSP would have done the same had they come in. It's been American, hasn't it? All four of them, all Americans, the groups who've wanted Everton, and I think all of them would do the same, because you've got to cut costs. The costs are too high for what's happening at the football club. There's got to be positive changes. If there's good people in the business, you've got to empower them, and you've got to make changes, and that's what it all comes down to. And I'm sure they're not afraid to make difficult decisions. They just got rid of Daniel De Rossi, of course.
Yeah.
He was a Roma favourite. He was out the door. 3 haven't won in 4 games. You sacked, mate, so and off you go. So they're not. It doesn't feel like they're scared of making tough decisions.
No, definitely not.
I think there'll be a few people, including the manager and including Kevin Thelwell and others at the club, who'll be thinking, looking over my shoulder, I need to do better. Some players, I need to do better, and the whole football club. Anyone with a plan will be better than what we've got right now, because it's probably really difficult for people at that football club to do anything at the moment, because imagine everything's just like, just keep it going. But we want to do this. Well, there's no one to ask, because, do you know what I mean?
Well, the language around the football club has been safety, hasn't it? Because they don't have the fella above them who's meant to be there. It's... What do we do? Well, we'll go with the safe option. We'll keep the manager in place, because, do we have the money to sack him? I was like, well, not sure. I'd have to speak to the boss about that, but he's off who knows where. So not even just that. Not even
Sean White. I'm just talking about anything. Can we get some more black biros? Oh, I don't think so. They're like £1.33 more than we want to spend. You know what I mean?
But that's everything around the club, innit? It's just keeping it safe, and hopefully, and we don't know the specifics of what these are going to do if they do buy the club, but hopefully that will allow us to start making some positive change and start being a bit ambitious and being a bit brave.
Yeah, I think everything needs it. One thing that shouldn't be overlooked is there's a big stadium there, and an opportunity for Everton to reset a little bit. I'm not saying I don't necessarily subscribe to the minute we get in the doors at the new stadium. No. Everything's better, because you have to make it be better. That's a great springboard for change, that stadium. Doesn't mean you can't start implementing those changes ASAP, so that you arrive in the new stadium in a much better place than where you are right now, and I hope that's going to happen. But again, we've been down this road before. Until it's confirmed and all done and finished, anything could happen. This is Farhad Moshiri after all, and judging by what he's told managers in the past when they've walked out of an interview and said they've got the job, and the next minute they're unveiling someone else, you just never ever know, do you? So it looks like the Friedkins are gonna be the new owners of Everton Football Club. They've already had their period of exclusivity. There's no skeletons in the closet. It's all done, as in them stages.
They know the lay of the land, don't they?
I imagine that Premier League approval is a formality and won't take very long at all. Because all the Premier League do, once Everton say it's done, the Premier League just ratify it. Now, Richard Masters, is, whether you believe a word he says or not, basically said it's not our job. So our job is just to make sure these have got the dough they say they have.
Yeah,
basically.
They are who they say they are.
And that's it. And therefore, and don't forget, I think the Friedkins got 3.5 weeks into a period of exclusivity, or 4 weeks maybe, and had done all the legwork with it, so they knew the numbers, and apparently they've paid off all sorts, or have sorted all that, and they've put the money up front, and that's why they have edged ahead of Texter. And like you said, it's almost like buying a house. One's in a chain, and the other one's got the cash. You're always probably going to go with the cash sale, because the other one might be, you might think, well, they're actually will probably be better, but they've got to sell this house. Or no, the cash one, actually, we're getting a better deal. That one was great. We've had a good relationship with him, but this fella here who's bounced back in with the cash, he's the right one for the football club.
Yeah, well, the other part of it as well is we owe money to them anyway, because they've lent us some as well, and that will just be part of the deal now, won't it?
For them now,
so rather than if Texter comes in, they might turn around and go, right, we'll have that back actually, so it's an increased cost.
I think that was the part. I think part of Texter's thing was they were getting it. Well, it had to be. It was part of the agreement. The same as it was with 777, which is why they paid 777. Part of Texter's agreement was they got the 200 million back straight away and all that. So I think they've brought, so I believe the thing with RMF has come down a bit, and ACAP's sorted, and obviously, like you just said, the 200 million they're in for anyway. So it makes it a different deal. And hopefully now they can get ratified and signed off, and they can start making plans for getting everything else sorted, because there is a lot to do with Everton. But, we're bottom of the league, joint bottom of the league with 1 point out of 15. So someone needs to crack the whip there and start demanding better results. Then they have to start thinking about putting some funding in to the club for things like the academy, which is being, allowed to, or sorry, not allowed, it's not the right way, but just hasn't had any spare money to be put into
neglected.
And also get some funds in place for January, because we need to be active in that window, getting a winger who can run.
And obviously,
and a fullback.
And outside of that, they need to take steps to understand the club culture as well, don't they? And hopefully speak to Evertonians and get a feeling of, right, obviously the business side of things, we know what's went wrong, but the footballing side, obviously anyone's going to be disappointed with bad results, but what are the specifics of what you as Evertonians have been unhappy with past ownership? And I'm not saying speak to the fans and fans dictate every single decision the owners make, but you come in and you get an understanding. You understand where the past fellas have failed and where they've lost support from the fans, and you go from there, don't you? Because look, I mean, it feels weird saying this considering how long we've been on the market, but buying the club's the easy part. The hard work is turning the club round, because while certainly money does need to be put in, it isn't just as simple as putting money in and suddenly your fortunes change. With Mashiri, first few years he was here, he put money in. And didn't get us anywhere. So it's putting money in with a plan, it's putting money in with an understanding, and it's getting the fans on sides, making sure the fans buy into the project as a whole as well. And it's going to take a lot of work.
I don't think they're going to be overly concerned with Evertonians, given the working with the Rome ultras. Do you know what I mean? They experience a lot of vociferous opinion-based supporters over in Italy.
But I think with Italian fans, and I mean no disrespect here, but I think it's almost expected, isn't it, that you will experience a little bit of kick-off now and
Carlo
again.
Was here when the lads went down to Finch Farm after Liverpool had beaten us to speak to Brands. Carlo was like, there's no issue, go and have a look at Italy. If you want to see what we deal with normally, he went, go and look at what happens in Italy. That's nothing. And I think Evertonians just want, feels like they just want something to get behind.
Definitely.
But the free, I think it would have been very easy for Evertonians to get behind John Textor. Easy if he took over, because he would have said a lot of things, and he does wear his heart on his sleeve and all that. I think Everton probably need a balance between the two. They don't need Friedkin to come in and be too corporate where we don't hear from them. We've already had one owner we hear nothing from and has no say in, doesn't have a say. We just are not told anything. I don't think that's helpful. And maybe we don't need to have everything out in the open, maybe the way Textor was going to do. We need a balance sort of in the middle of it, and they maybe have to grab a little bit of Textor and put that in with leaving the other bits out, because I think it's no good for us to feel like we're not heard. I think that's been people's frustration for way over a year. Not we're not heard, that's not the right thing, but people aren't listening to fans' frustrations. We've got this image, and you know what? It's perpetuated by our own fans. This image that we kick off over everything, and yet I think we're quite docile as a fan base to what we've had to suffer. Liverpool fans take the piss out of us, and yet they wouldn't put up with a tenth of what we've put up with.
No,
not a chance. Right? They marched when steak and kidney pies went up. You know, they walk along with the flags and all that, and kick off and walk out. But they demand their club be better, and their club is better. Our fans do have moments where the odd one out of sheer frustration oversteps the mark, and then our fans put it on social media for everyone to see.
I think
we saw
the
train thing with Mopai. We saw Ashley Young getting called a knobhead last week before he'd even kicked the penalty, and that's shared with everyone, and this, that and the other. So it gets perpetuated around, so people go, these Everton fans, the dickheads, they hound everyone out the club and all that, and you're like, that isn't the case, though. No. And then when our manager says, well, they walk out, that's what they do here. If we're not winning, your hero was here. That's not helpful either, because that isn't what 98% of Evertonians do. No, but I just think the difference is, if it does happen on the rare occasions, sometimes it does come out in ugly ways with, you know, the situation with Gordon. No, of course. And, you know, the train thing and the thing with Gordon, for example, if you go back further, there was, you know, the banners around Benitez and stuff, and you know, it's one of them, because there is the reputation in it, so it becomes a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point. If a Norwich fan does it, I'm not saying they do, but it's just an example. It's not, them Norwich fans kicking off again, but, you know, we can go ages without an incident, but then five people say something to a player at a train station, and it's, the whole Everton fan base has come out with the pitchforks. But you're right, it is perpetuated, and it because that is the reputation, anything that conforms to that does sort of set it, doesn't it? It sets the narrative. But yeah, I think the owners, the Friedkins, if it is them, if they come in, they do have to recognise that, okay, there's a passionate fan base here, and, you know, they are... Lean into it. Yeah, and go, look, they appreciate the involvement of Evertonians at the football club, and they want people who care about the club running it. Now, okay, we as people aren't Evertonians, but we've bought the club, it's our asset, we want it to do well. Let's bring in some people around us, maybe, who can not speak for the fan base as a whole, but share the values of the fan base, and you can learn from, and, you know, people who you know will care about the club and be passionate about the club. I think they need, you know, to quote LeJarn Blaine, they need a chief engagement officer, someone who speaks to the fans, absolutely, and speaks for the club. This thing of going into hiding, like our football club does, is just nonsense. They've got about 40 PR people there. Let one of them speak. Make one of them what they need to do is get someone like Alan Myers in, or someone who's in the game, who is experienced at doing that job. Definitely. It's a key role. It's an absolute key role. You need people with huge experience within the sport, within media, to go in and set a culture. For too long, and this was peddled by the former CEO, it's go into hiding, don't say a word. We hate the fan base. That's what it feels like. The club hates the fan base when it needs to embrace the fan base. Got to have a new broom, has got to go through there, change the culture, get us on board, get everyone who is an Evertonian, or you can't get everyone, you'll never get everyone behind it, but get a lot of people pulling in the same way. And when we do pull in the same way, great things can be achieved. Look at the way Villa have sort of spun theirs around. They were in a little bit of doldrums. People weren't happy. You know, it was a negative attitude around Villa Park and all that. And the owners have come in and they've changed the manager and done things differently and got people in the appropriate roles. And now, albeit they've still got the pricing on for Champions League tickets, they're in a much more positive place. Arteta's done it, hasn't he, at Arsenal? Arsenal were in a little bit of a negative spin. Their fan base, they always kick off Arsenal fan TV, blah, 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 blah. And Arteta had a wobbly period. He still has it, to be fair. Some still want him out, even though he's done a great job there. But in general, he's created this atmosphere at at the Emirates, it was, oh, it's a library. It's not a library no more. He's created that. They all seem to be on a similar page.
They've bought in, haven't they?
They bought in. So that's what the challenge is, I think, for the Friedkins, because if you get this fan base right, it can be like an Italian style, hostile, 12th man, blah, blah, blah. People will invest in Everton Football Club, this city, whether we like our neighbours or not. It's a passionate football city where football's so high on the agenda in this city that it never sleeps. The thirst for information is incredible in this city. There's other cities as well, but us, we're going to be biased. We're from here. It's unbelievable. The thirst and passion for football.
It's one of the most important things at the football club, the fan base. And I know every football club thinks in that way, but looking at Everton specifically, the fan base, in their opinion of you, can make or break you as someone at Everton, because either we can make our voices heard if we dislike someone, and we can try and force the owner's hand, or sometimes even go against the owner, or we went against the Premier League, of course, as well, didn't we? But then if we like someone and we get behind them, that does wonders for some people as well, and it can prolong their careers at Everton, and it gives them that extra motivation on a match day because you've got this fan base behind you. So it is a massive, massive thing at the football club, but you just got to get it right, because I think as a fan base, I don't want to say we're reactive, but we're emotional. If we're unhappy, we state it, and if we're happy, we'll let them know.
That hasn't come from if we were winning stuff, or we were always near the top, like in Europe and all that, and we kicked off the minute one thing went wrong, I'd be saying, yeah, we're not a great fan base and all that. We've had nothing. We've literally had. You are a 23-year-old lad.
22.
22. Yeah, I'm thinking of that. But you've seen nothing, Jack. You've seen nothing. You know what I mean? Getting beaten in an FA Cup semi-final. Way, brilliant. Great, that. That's like the highlight for you, which is an absolute travesty for this football club, right? And I get it. If football's changed, and it isn't, it's not going to be easy to win trophies, but trophies are there to be won. Europe, finishing 7th. Now we're saying there's no chance of Everton getting in the top 7. That's bollocks, because all sorts of teams have been in there. So we've just done things really poorly. We're all made up with Illiman and Jai, right? Now, he's not amazing, but at least he's a player who, when he gets the ball, you sort of get to the edge because you think he's going to do something. We've been starved of that. Other teams have 4 of them, and we have one, and we go, and they have better versions of that. That's just basic football. We've been starved of everything. So when you starve people of everything, we live in a city, whether we go ignore them and all, and I do generally ignore it, but they're still in our city, so it's in your face a bit, and they're a really good side. Then you factor in everything costs more. Then you factor in the quality of the player we've had over the last few years. It's got worse and worse and worse and worse. We've had managers we don't buy into, and they don't seem to buy into. Mix it all together from a position where we were promised a team that was going for the league and going to be in the Champions League. It's gone the exact opposite. When you throw all that together without winning a trophy, and it goes into this melting pot, the spring gets tighter and tighter each year, which means the stick that breaks the camel's back each year gets lighter and lighter. It doesn't take much to just go, and we're in stress, and we've had points taken off. When you add all this together, it's incredible we've got any kids who support Everton.
I know.
Because why would you?
No, because there's nothing, is there? And, obviously every football fan wants it, but I think especially as a kid, you want that player in the team, or those players who get you out your seat. And, growing up for me, that was Pienaar. That was, Arteta a little bit before that, although he played a different role. And then you had Morales, Manuel Fernandes, who could move a bit on the ball as well. But we've been starved of that, and we love our players at Everton. And some of the names we have on this wall behind us are players who weren't necessarily renowned for being the absolute best, but they were players we could love because either they were amazing to watch or they gave everything for the shirt. Players like De La Feu, like Richarlison, like Steven Pienaar, none of those were world-class players. They were all good, but they were attacking players who got you out your seat and you could get behind and you could look to on a match day and go, he'll entertain us today and he'll give us something and he'll drive us forward. We haven't had that for a while, and I think that's why NJ is so loved. But, you know, you look at a club like Fulham, who, you know, nothing special, mid-table club, but some of the players they've got behind the striker, and they've got Iwobi, and they've got Reece Nelson, they've got Smith Rowe, and okay, I know Iwobi had been at Everton, and that obviously didn't work out. But players like Reece Nelson and players like Smith Rowe, they're not world beaters, but they're entertaining footballers who have a little bit about them. And for other mid-table clubs around Everton's level, they've got 2, 3, 4 of them.
Yeah, but you look at Pina. I love Pina, unbelievable. You look at Smith Rowe and Iwobi the other day. I was laughing with Zach. I'm like, Iwobi's made up because he's got someone who actually runs off him, who he can pick out, you know, a clever footballer, and that links it together. Whereas when you've got one of them trying to do everything, people will often go, not good enough for him, he's rubbish, Iwobi, or whether you like them or not. But if you put him in a team with better footballers, it makes them look better. Go ahead.
These are the players we've been missing out on, hasn't it? We mean, you know, people like Nicholas Jackson, who scored a couple of good goals at the weekend. These are the players we've missed out in the last.
Well, we had, didn't we? We had and couldn't complete.
That's what I'm saying. We've missed out on these players in the last couple of years to build the side. I mean, you know, that's the top and bottom of it.
Judas.
Club of it still identified. I mean, I know, you know, there's a list of players David Moyes missed out on, which was absolutely world class. We were lucky we managed to get those players over the line. That was the distinct advantage we had back when David Moyes was the manager, and we haven't been able to do it that this time. And Jai looks like one that we have been able to get in, and you know, we should
have 3 of them though, shouldn't we?
But like I'm quite positive about sort of what the front 4 that we saw on Saturday moving forward. And if we just had a little bit of money,
pause that, go to Friedkin, because
he's the one I want, because I think what it is it's a case of there's no drama. I think Everton, for its sins, for whatever's happened, I think we need a period now of just calmness, and I think that's what they seem to bring. I think, there's a lot of drama going on in
Southgate, apparently.
I've seen that, and listen, that doesn't fill me with a lot of.
I don't think that.
No, I don't either. There's another name out there as well, which might fill people with a bit more confidence. But I just think we need a period of calmness, and I think that's what these bring, and there is perceived to be a little bit of drama in Rome now, but that's, of course, is what's going to happen if you sack
he's a club legend.
Legend. He's only
gone now as well.
He's only secondary to Totti, De Rossi. It's as simple as that. He's only second to Totti. Totti is like the absolute, you know,
He's God to them, and
he is.
De Rossi,
and De Rossi's only second to him.
Yeah.
So you can understand that, but he has only won 1 game in 13, and they've made a decision. The CEO's made a decision, and she's fallen on a sword. Now, who's to say she couldn't be the next Everton CEO? She's been she's been, you know, apparently she's been very, very good.
I believe, though, that she took the cam, but it was all the decisions. They had this. Apparently, according to I think they wanted to sack him after the second game because they weren't impressed. So she's obviously took the bullet for it, hasn't she? Because the ulcers have kicked off.
And that happens at these clubs. These clubs, we talk about emotion in our club. You know, we've mentioned sometimes going back to what you said before, but sometimes I look at English football and I just think the state it gets itself in over little things is it's so pathetic. Like Haaland bouncing the ball off the Arsenal player's head. I can imagine people are screaming to the hills about that. It's like,
well, there was on
it's like
on the ref watch this morning on Sky, they're going, is there a little bit there, and saying, you know, as you know, does he need to be careful as he started something there because they had a little bit of afters after it, and like the average fan sat at home going, boss that.
No, exactly.
But the
media
is
like, football is
the player will sort it if the defender's there and he's bounced it off his head. Then the next tackle you give him one, don't you?
And that's just the way it is.
Well, you've done something, haven't you? You throw a ball at my head. Next tackle, I'm going through the back here.
But then as a player, I'd go, I've got him wound up now, haven't I? And then you've both got it then.
Right, okay.
Go ahead, breaking news.
Breaking news. Everton, Blue Heaven Holdings and the Friedkin Group confirm they have reached an agreement over the terms of the sale of Blue Heaven Holdings' majority stake in Everton Football Club. The transaction is subject subject to regulatory approval, including from the Premier League, the FA and the Financial Conduct Authority. A spokesman for the Friedkin Group said, "We are pleased to have reached an agreement to become custodians of this iconic club. We are focused on securing the necessary approvals to complete the transaction. We look forward to providing stability to the club and sharing our vision for its future, including the completion of the new Everton Stadium at Bramley Moor Dock." So that is basically confirmation that the Friedkin Group have bought Everton Football Club. Obviously,
subject to approval.
Subject to those approvals, which are very, very easy for some people and very, very hard for some other people, depending on where you come from. But yeah, it looks like it's done. And listen, that's it, isn't it? If that's it, we have to pull in the same direction now and wait for the planes to be flying over. And yeah, we'll have to wait and see what it means. But I do think we've been sitting here for a while waiting. It was becoming when, not if, whether him or John Textor. John Textor had, for him, and he said that himself in the summer, the problem was he couldn't shift the Crystal Palace shares. And I'm not sure how long it'll take him to shift the Crystal Palace shares, because if it's taking this long to sell a football club like Everton with that stadium, then I don't know how long it'll take to shift those shares at Crystal Palace. By the way, you take over 40% of Crystal Palace, it gives you nothing. It gives you the most expensive season tickets in the Premier League. That's what it said. And that's why no one wanted to buy it. And that's odd that he allowed himself to be put in that situation. But yeah, as far as we're concerned, it's done.
Yeah, just very quickly, sorry.
Go on.
A lot of people are having trouble getting the statement up on the website. It's going to the 404 page, not found. So I
keep getting.
If we can maybe get the picture on the screen
I've
or
had
something.
17 messages saying it's not working. It's not right.
A lot of people can't get the statement up on the website, so just saying
it's a 404.
If you've got a picture, Ped, if we could maybe get it up so people can see it or something.
I've just said
maybe. I know, but like people will be tuning in for the breaking news now.
Well, the breaking news is, and we can discuss it, is that the Friedkin Group have bought Everton Football Club.
Glenn on the super chat said, "Is that official, Ped McParty man? Here we go.
McParty man.
It's not a here we go from me. It's just I don't do here we go.
Is it a there we land?
Because that other the little kids made here we land, haven't they? So make a different one.
We arrive here.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Yeah.
I feel like that might be someone else's cat's
No.
Yeah. And No,
we're definitely not doing that one.
The let's get ready to rumble one. He will come after you over that if you use that. Apparently,
he's not happy.
He'll have his day in court.
He'll have his day
if you use that without his permission. But yeah, I mean, it's all moved very quickly, hasn't it? Considering.
Well, you say that it was done 2 months ago.
Well,
and they haven't done it
since they came back into the fold officially within the media.
Because basically, Farhad Moshiri, what I was told. Farhad Moshiri has maintained the same line all summer, which is very much Jerry Maguire. And that's been it. So if you really want it, show me the money. Just put the money on the table and off we go.
Yeah.
And obviously what's happened on Friday, because John Textor's deal was practically agreed. What did I say last week? The Friedkin Group. And we said, to be fair, we've all said it all summer. They hadn't gone anywhere. But they were in all of the negotiations. So they were looking. We talked about this last week. They were looking, going, hang on, John Textor's got his pen to sign here, and they just come back and gone, there's the money.
Yeah.
Knowing that he hasn't sold his Palace yet. So they already had a leg up.
I mean, who knows? I mean, ultimately, who actually, like...
Nathan's called you Pedrizio Romano.
No, I'm definitely not those things.
There you go.
Who knows? Who knows? He might have gone away. He might have got a slightly better deal.
Tommy.
He might have, for who knows, the way these things work, who knows, there's so many factors. The pound is at its strongest with the dollar at the moment. Do you know all these mad factors might all play into getting a better deal? You don't know, do you? Things have changed. There's maybe less.
If you're happy, Paul, sorry. If you're happy with the Friedkin news, hit the like button right now.
Don't you haven't
clap your hands then? Subscribed, do it right now. I'm checking the numbers.
Video.
Also, you should all 777.
And I think this is really, really important, and this has to be stated. If you're happy with Jack's haircut, you have to like
They're not. No, you might negatively affect.
No. Do you prefer Jack's haircut to his last haircut? I know Emma doesn't, because your haircut reminds her of her good times in the 90s.
Days gone by.
Watching, certain bands and stuff and getting really excited about.
Emma has said time to pack your hold all Deitch, and others are putting taxi for Deitch. Obviously, very.
I don't think we should get ahead of ourselves on anything. Let's get a deal over the line, and then we'll start talking about other things. But let's just get the deal over the line. And then, because we've been here before, and we're not going to get too excited. But
I do think
it's obviously
the last time we were here was when Mashiri bought it. We've never agreed the sale subject to the thing.
And the news in the media has been that approval would be very easy for them to get, but I think let's hold our horses just for now, obviously, because if it would happen to anyone, it would happen to Everton. But it's looking good, isn't it? It's looking like there's a very, very strong chance that these fellas will be the owners of Everton Football Club very soon. And look, people might have preferred other options. Maybe people wanted John Textor, maybe people wanted someone completely different, who knows. But hopefully in the very near future, we're going to have an actual owner at this football club, which is more than we've had.
I think there's very little between the two of them, is there really? That's the point. One owns three football clubs, or four football clubs, depends which way you look at it, and one owns one football club. They're in it for the same reasons. The thing about, I always think about Everton is, compared to other football clubs, is maybe, is that the way I look at it is that if you want to make money out of Everton have to be successful. That's the one thing I look at Everton about is it's not. We're not, and that's,
we're not a money making.
We're not like a we don't. You're not going to make a fortune off shirts. You're not gonna. Even with the new stadium, you're gonna have to have that stadium full week in and week out. Which we do now, but like we've said for ages, there's a novelty concerning Goodison Park with it being towards the end, and there'll be a novelty towards a new stadium. If football doesn't improve and prices go up, people will start going, well, what's the point anymore? There has to be a transitional period from where people are taking their kids and then the kids start going on their own. That has to be because good things are happening. It has to be. You can't keep going back to the well again and again and again. And that's with both of them. Both of them. Texter obviously says it more from the heart, with his heart in his sleeve, and gets out there and says what he's going to do. There's reports today saying some people at the club maybe weren't completely happy with that, and obviously they put a statement out at the time. I know certainly there'd probably be definitely one person who wasn't happy with it. I think we all know that. But this is what it is now, isn't it?
I'm convinced he's going to be happy with the outcome.
No, but I don't think that's. Sean Dyche is this regime's man. He's the silver bullet. His contract ends at the end of the year. If Everton want to move forward, renewing that contract would be madness. If Everton want to move to the next level, Sean Dyche has done a job. He's done the job he was asked to do. That doesn't mean it's a good job. That means he's done the job he was asked to do. What we're saying, I think, the page we're on at the moment is maybe the job isn't what you're putting it down to this season, which is, Everton be lucky to stay up. If you look at the squad, we're looking at going, there's a bit more evidence to suggest that actually Everton have got a couple of good players here and aren't actually the worst team in the league.
I've argued it all along. And no player when I see one. Everton have got players. Everton are nowhere near the bottom three of those sides. If you actually play football and attack teams, they will finish halfway up. Got to do it now. Got to start winning games. Michael T on the super chat simply says, has a thing that says game over.
Game over.
So I don't know whether it is that he's just going for. I don't know.
Game over for who?
Maybe it is John Textor he's talking to. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe he's been undercover the entire time.
Maybe. Still not enough likes for my liking or subs, but hey ho, people are just the way they are. Why are you the way you are? Dan W wants Thelwell, Dyche and Dan the Red Purdy gone. Fair enough, Dan.
Is Purdy a red as well?
I can't confirm or deny that.
So he is.
Feels like he
feels like he is, isn't he? Feels like that. He's amazing at his job. So far he's proved it.
Everton Viking says, this takeover stuff has been a roller coaster and I just don't want to be hurt anymore. The Friedkin group are always my preferred buyer. As Baz says, there's no owners without some red flags though, but for me these have the least red flags. And the business sense to take us forward. Yeah, fingers crossed. Tom Dobbo says, I definitely wanted Friedkin to go through. He seems more professional and texter and he owns Spitfires. Fair play.
Is that a deal breaker for you if they don't own?
If John Texter pulls up in a Spitfire,
yeah.
would
you
the
change your
pendulum
mind?
swing a
But
little
actually, him and Tom Hardy got out of it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Brian Ball is amazing. It says, freaking amazing news. Tazul says, rumours Friedkin wants Southgate. That's a big no from me. Get it done, Texter. That was from before. Duck Do says, greetings from Vietnam. Everton Viking says, Dyche's subs will always cost us. His in-game management is the worst in the league. He also says, on Lindstrom, for me, seems a very clever footballer with good technique and good ability. Just needs time. People expect too much too quickly and write players off too quickly. I think once he's up to the pace, and he's already shown signs he is, he'll be a very good player for us. Already an upgrade on Harrison and McNeil for me. We also have to take into account his confidence is at rock bottom, but I do think he'll be good for us. He needs game time. Smart, clever and fast players will always do. Already, even if they're lightweight. Mark Mack says, Mangala impressed me at the weekend.
Well, he'll be going back.
Yeah, he's right back now.
Come on, son, we're going home.
They'll be asking for thingy 2 double payments for Jake O'Brien.
Yeah.
No, we want more. We said.
Now he was better at the weekends, Mangala.
No, he did. Didn't make a single tackle in the game. Which
Did he not?
No, but he did do much better.
He was decent on the ball.
No, we just kept us ticking over, didn't he? Jay Radcliffe says, I was 10 rows behind the Everton dugout on Saturday with my Leicester City supporting brother, and I must say I was disgusted with Dyche. He went straight down the tunnel afterwards. Fans who got soaked to the bone supporting us again deserved an acknowledgement.
Yeah. Did you have a poncho with you?
I did see him clapping the fans before he went.
Was a bit wet. I'll give him that. Like, he was soaked to the bone.
Cooper went on a pitch though and he was drenched.
And nobody also looks like he's at a Game of Thrones.
Well, he was asleep.
Doesn't he?
Pip says, I always recommend Dyche says Everton don't know how to win when he was the Burnley. I think he means he always remembers Dyche saying Everton don't know how to win when he was the Burnley manager. Right now he's right. Why hasn't he fixed it?
Yeah. Why didn't he walk in and go, right, what was the last thing I said about these? He was like, oh yeah, they don't know how to win. Right, I should probably start with that, shouldn't I?
Brian says Harrison now can only be a sub. Lindstrom, far more effective and goals.
I don't think he's done well coming off the bench though in the times that he has. I think he's struggled getting in the game. I think give him a run of games on the left, maybe.
I think he is better on the left.
Who me some up?
Harrison.
He's got the left foot.
No, just leave him off the team.
Oh, well, I'm saying if you're going to put him in at times, he's better on the left-hand side, isn't he? Because there'll be times, I imagine, I think that when NGI will play off the striker.
Yeah.
And therefore...
And I'd like to see Harrison on the left over McNeil. But yeah, for me at the moment, that's the 3. They've earned their places. Lindstrom, NGI and McNeil.
I just like to see them getting a goal.
Yeah,
sure they'll just leave. I
think we all said after Spurs that 3 behind Dom needed to be broken apart. And he, to be fair, he took the Corey out straight away, and Dye came in, and now Linson. Now whether Linson would have started at the weekend, who knows? But you know, as Bob Ross said, lucky accidents, isn't it? Sometimes that happens. Sometimes, you know, I think it's about finding the balance now of the team. It's about finding the balance of the whole team now. And it's just important that we're not stuck in playing the same 11 all the time, and we break out of that. And that, you know, but said loads of times, you know, Irabuna mightn't have started the season if Garner hadn't been injured. No. Now Irabuna is like legitimately someone you look at and go, when we know he can start games, will he start every game? No, because the manager will look at the situation, whichever manager that is, will look at the situation and identify what in games it's important for him to play in. And that's massively important now. you use the squad. So you're not going, I'm down to this and I'm down to that. But then use your squad. Identify who needs to come on at what times or in what stages of the game. For me, Bunham came on Saturday and he put him in the wrong position. He should have just left the Corey where he was and put him in the number 8 and said, you be a little bit further ahead, we'll get the ball to you, and then you break forward with it, where he was trying to break forward with it just outside our box. And it just was silly.
Yeah, we just couldn't keep hold of it, could we?
No. So...
Jez says, I could get wound up by Dyche's subs, but I'm resigned to him doing it. But what I do think, we're still not cutting the ball back from the byline. We have plenty of chances to do it, even with our lack of pace. It suggests to me they don't practice any attacking patterns. Yeah, I don't think they do. Andy says, Baz, we need both Alan Myers and Julia Bold in on the media and communications. They will put forward positive ideas with the media and the fan base. Look at Villa. They've hired Kate Tracy, Sky Sports presenter across multiple sports, to transform their media department. Yeah, Villa are absolutely flying. John says, I want our club run properly with professional people put in all key positions to move the club forward. From an experienced CEO, finance officer, communications, to a new director of football and a manager, to have a plan and a timescale to work towards. Yeah, Simon says, I'll believe this when I see his P57 Mustang flying up the Mersey.
You know what, though?
I'm happy, though.
It wouldn't surprise me if he literally did that. I mean, not with the weather at the moment. That would be foolish.
Yeah.
But it just wouldn't surprise me.
Or we see as the Friedkin mobile flying over.
The Friedkin mobile. What is the Friedkin mobile?
His jet.
Okay,
he just comes over. Okay. It's like, it's the Friedkin mobile.
Okay.
And like that's how he announces it.
Okay.
Would it be, so it's a bit like the Batmobile, but it's the Friedkin mobile?
Yeah, it flies.
But it flies.
Yeah.
It's a bold statement, yeah.
For what? I don't get the reference.
Sorry, Ned's talking off camera, and it's quite funny because he's telling Jack that he's too young to get a reference when Ned, in terms of a film reference, when Ned is about 2 hairs on his chin older than Jack.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Carl, the Everton have agreed the sale to the Friedkin group. It's just subject to approval now. That's it. Tom O'Reilly says, I'm guessing Friedkin will bring in his own director of football. So is that the end of a deal for Delhi? No, I think Everton will quickly get the Delhi deal in.
What on pay? Like they'll just be like,
they'll get the last few things.
Like when governments give no, they're going out, so they make sure they knight certain people or give people. Make him a lord quick.
Sneak him in.
Yeah, make him a lord because we're making Delhi a lord. Is that what we're doing?
Who's the
like on your deathbed reveal and you've got like a second family or something before you peace out and going, yeah, you've actually got a half brother, and then
who did that recently? Someone did that recently.
Kyle Walker.
Come on, there should be 500 likes here at least. With
so on the planes, I watched the air crash investigations last night about Salah. It was very sad.
Hit the like button right now. Just very quickly, the Graham Potter has been heavily linked with Everton over this weekend. Is he someone in the future who, if Everton did decide to change the manager, because obviously Sean Dyche's contract's up anyway in the summer, I don't think it'll be getting renewed. Is he someone you'd like at Everton, or has his time gone? Or do you just not think he would suit Everton?
Great manager, Graham Potter. Very big fan of him and his style, but a couple of sticking points for me. I think for the start, you'd need to put in the setup around him and within the club, so he can work with the type of players he needs to work with and bring those players in. I think he'd need a full pre-season with these players because he'd obviously change the way they play and he'd have to work out who can adapt and who needs to be moved on. And look, that could end up being a couple of key players might not be able to adapt to Graham Potter's football, so he needs that time to learn that and time to potentially move some out if he needs. You'd also need to have a very long conversation with him about the pressures this football club brings, because as we all know, at Brighton on the one occasion he was booed by Brighton fans. He did not take it well. Now, that was probably the first time in his career he's been subjected to that, and Obviously, since then he's been away. He's been to Chelsea where he didn't have good times. He faced pressure on a more consistent basis. So maybe, he had to get used to it and adapt to it. But it would be a worry for me. And you'd have to have a very long and serious conversation about the pressures he'd face in this job. Because as a fan base, we do have high standards. And look, Brighton as a club, yeah, great club, ran brilliantly, they've done brilliant things, got a lot of respect for Brighton. But our standards as a football club are simply higher than what Brighton's are. Brighton, are, when they came up to the Premier League, yes, they had ambition, but they were looking at it like a nice holiday and look, who knows where the journey will end, sort of thing, you know what I mean? Whereas Everton are a very big club that have been starved of success for a very long time. So naturally, as a fan base, we have expectations. If we feel those expectations aren't being met, we let people know, don't we? So you'd have to figure out whether Potter could adapt to that. Whether he could, I'm not too sure. But he is a great manager.
Just before we finish, Potter, if Everton were deciding to go down that route, what do you think about Graham Potter, or do you think it just wouldn't work here?
I've got a caveat.
Don't say De Rossi, because he's not.
David Weir
As the manager?
As the Doff. Worked together before. I know he wasn't necessarily the head honcho, but they've worked in a system together. Weir's been offered this job before. Obviously, he didn't take it because he's not stupid. He got himself sorted. He's been at Brighton. He took over there from Dan Ashworth and just kept everything going the same. Dan Ashworth obviously put the systems in place, but he's just kept them going. I said this about some like Lee Carsley. If you're going to get Lee Carsley, you'd want someone with that kind of experience as well. That's someone like Dave Weir's got of the football club and of knowing that role. And for me, I think that's a two-fer that I would go for. I understand the point about educating Potter. If Potter doesn't know the size of Everton Football Club and the pressures that brings with it, then I'd be worried about him just in general about football, Jack, if I'm honest. Any football club with a fan base in a city like ours, I think just brings pressures. I think I don't think it's just, I think Brighton are a nice club, but I think it's a nice place. I think that's like, I think working in a city like Liverpool, you must understand the pressures straight away, even if you don't know the football club. If you work for any Northwest football club, you're going to immediately know the pressures. And I think you know, if you don't know those pressures, then you shouldn't be anywhere near any football club. I think it should come with a football club. It's just any big city, a club is the focal point, or the clubs are the focal point for that city. For people, working class people who work all week and go to match, it brings out all your emotions. It's one of the only places men actually show their emotions, you know, when they go to the game. If you don't know that already, then I don't know what to say. So, and I think Chelsea would have been a big eye opener for him, you know.
Yeah. So
I don't know. I mean, Baz, who would you look for as your number one if you because I know you often sit on the fence about the manager. So let's just say at the end of the season when his contract's up, you know, who would you be looking at? And anyone, not just someone whose name's out there. Is there anyone in Wales football or on Football Manager that you would look at straight away and go, he's someone I'd have?
I'd love Tuchel, but I don't know whether Everton could get Tuchel.
Why couldn't Everton get Tuchel?
I said I don't know if they could.
Because this is the ambition.
There's an opportunity to present Everton as a whole, you know, a blank canvas almost for someone like Thomas Tuchel. Football's not amazing, that's all I'd say. But he is an excellent manager. He's won the Champions League, of course, and been very sure. And I wanted him 11 years ago when he was at Mainz, when we got Martinez. So I think people like, if you want to be exotic, then someone like Topmöller. We talked about him last week, didn't we? In Germany. Frankfurt, he's good. People like that.
I think Tuchel's an interesting one though, because I know loads of people will go, oh, you've got no chance. If Everton are a Premier League club and Everton have got money. And when I say money, I'm not talking about the billions and billions of pounds. I'm talking about money that a manager like him will walk in and go, can I affect things? Can I buy better players? I think we had a chat about this, didn't we, last week? Where else? Man United is one where you'd sit round for the next couple of months and go, see how that develops.
Definitely.
But if Everton, offer a project, you've got to be going to these people if you've got any ambition, haven't you? And go, this is the project. Take it or leave it. And I don't know, maybe, you've got to try and sell the club. Now, if you're new to a club and you say, right, I'm new, you're new, what do you want? This is what Villa did to Emery.
Yeah.
And I don't think Thomas Tuchel's a much better manager than Emery.
No.
I don't think that at all. I think Emery, all right, mate, one's got a Champions League and one hasn't, but Emery, they're not too dissimilar in there. And Villa sold him a project, and when you get, this is all yours, mate.
There's Terzic, though, who's at Dortmund, who's left. He's out of work. Me and Jack mentioned him last week. He's a good manager as well.
I think
he'd have to change the squad slightly, but he's a good manager.
I think the comparisons to Emery, the obvious caveat would be he was probably more attainable because his reputation in England had took a hit, and the type of clubs that he was good enough to manage wouldn't have looked at him. Whereas Tuchel, there is, like you say, the possibility of a Man United turning round and looking at him, but. Look, it's one of them. Do I think would be able to get him? I think he might be holding out for something better, to be honest. But I think you've got to ask the question, haven't you? You start at the top of the list. You don't work your way up. You start at the top and you go, who's the number one choice?
David
and you go out there.
Ancelotti's another one. Are you ready to go if you get someone above him? He's a really good coach.
It's not I don't think
he changes the narrative.
Well, I think the point being is that if you get a new owner who's got money. And again, I'm not talking about throwing around millions and millions and millions of pounds. I'm talking about stabilising the football club with a new stadium and saying this is the new project. Sitting down going, this is what we want, this is where we want to go. There are managers out there like Tuchel that might go, yeah, okay. Because actually, I don't want to be a filler at Man United. I don't want to go in there and be 2 years there. I want a project. Actually, I am at the stage of my career where I do want a project. I want to be somewhere with it for 5 years, where I put this all together and I'm allowed to. Tuchel's often bemoaned that he's not been allowed to do things at football clubs. What if Friedkin goes?
What if he had the power?
What if Friedkin goes? We start from zero here, mate, and you're in charge. Because that's what Villa did with Emery. They basically said, this is your club. You shape it. Go and get Monchi. Right, goes and get Monchi. And everything at Villa now is what Emery wants it to be. And look where it is. And that's the kind of power I think that a lot of managers want in this day and age.
The likes of Tuchel, and again, and Terzic's another one. He's in this conversation. Right now, they're attainable because they're not in work. And you have an opportunity. Everton might only have one opportunity to do this. Liverpool done it with Jurgen Klopp. Klopp wanted United. And United wouldn't go all in on because they were unsure about sacking whoever it was. Wasn't Marino. Whoever it was in. And Klopp, I mean, this was all out there and they were unsure. And Liverpool were like, we've got a chance of getting him before someone it's stalled with United. We can grab him right now. And even though they had Brendan Rodgers, who they were sort of backing, they just sacked Rodgers and went because Klopp was the only opportunity they had to get him. They went and got him, gave him that power, and look what he done. He's turned him into a great side.
Yeah, but they went all out, didn't they? And, he was obviously promised a certain level of control at Liverpool, and, they sold him on the culture as well, didn't they?
Say Everton went for Terzic. Again, it's a leap, but Villa done it with Emery. Say Everton went for Terzic and we're like, right, we want you to take control of this. Play the way you had Dortmund playing. Build to that. We're going to put in more support around you, whatever. And we're going into a brand new stadium next season. And you're in the Premier League. The Premier League's a massive pull, don't forget. You get managers who you wouldn't normally get. Wolves got Lopetegui, who'd been the Real Madrid manager. Okay, he's gone to West Ham. He's not pulling up any trees there. But
at the time, he had a big reputation, is what you're saying,
Wolves, yeah. Right? Therefore, Everton, maybe. Everton got Carlo Ancelotti when people said there was no way they could get him. They got him. So there is opportunities to get these managers. I don't think anyone can go, no chance of getting him. What's the point? because I don't believe that. And don't forget, with Social, he's come to Everton twice for the job, and Everton have turned him down. So whether he'd now go, no, you can do one. But they could get someone like that. Do you know what I mean? And that is a thing of going, right, shape us now, because we've been putting people in who we know aren't going to really shape us.
We're talking about someone who hasn't got a job.
No, that's what
you know
I mean.
That's
and you're offering them a Premier League job.
We're not talking sitting here, are we, going, oh, we're going to go and get,
Simeone,
X, Y, and Z. Yeah, exactly. We're not sitting here saying that. We're sitting here saying there's a fella out of work there and he doesn't get linked with us because the club's in a mess. Now, if it's suddenly not in a mess and everything calms down.
Well, the debt's apparently has been reduced to massively reduced today. With this agreement, ACAP's gone. The Friedkin's own thingy. RMF's been brought down. Apparently, Mashiri's not getting anything now for his shares, not the 50 million.
Dock apparently is full of gold bars.
The Dock is there.
It's full of gold bars. If you want to go and have a little swim, go down, have a little swim.
Away, the health of the club has flipped. So
yeah.
Which is what I said all along.
And then there's other people there, isn't it?
1.5 billion in 2-3 years.
Then there's other people there, isn't there? The likes of Thomas Frank and people like that who might just be a little bit below that are in clubs that you go, well, actually we could get him. Again, I don't think that's unrealistic. I think people will talk us down as much as they want.
Go and get Arteta.
And if not him, we want Guardiola.
Yeah, that Guardiola fella.
Carlo mightn't be staying at Real Madrid that long. Do you know what I mean?
Go get Alonso.
Get him. Get James Rodriguez back. Bring the band back together. Come on.
Someone said before, I haven't seen Ped this excited when he was going to see Taylor Swift.
I was probably more excited.
I don't know.
I've also massive lack of sleep as well. Massive lack of sleep. Yeah.
But no, it's one of them, innit? Whoever it is who we potentially bring in, there is a real opportunity there to shape the club in a different direction and forge a pathway, not just for this manager, but whoever's in charge in 5-10 years' time as well, and start finally moving the club in one specific direction.
I think David Atherton's got it spot on. He says this conversation stinks of optimism, feels weird.
I know, it's strange, isn't it?
Dex says if the Friedkin takeover goes through, then appoint Nicola Cortese as the CEO.
Was she the Roma one?
Wasn't it? Corrin says they'll sack Dice because he doesn't win games. Stephen Ballard says, hi guys, I love the show. I'm an expatriate now living in Houston. The Friedkin Group has an excellent reputation in business, so I can see the purchase of our great club only being a success.
Good to hear.
Well, that's the other side of it, isn't it?
Carl says.
Why not? That's the other side of it, isn't it? He owns these Gulf Toyota, and he obviously owns leisure with hotels and stuff. They're potential people, potential sides have come in and help sponsor the club. They'll be looking at the ground and thinking, can we get the naming rights for the ground and all these kind of things? I mean, I know that's you're veering into the old
Toyota,
Etihad
Stadium,
Etihad and all that kind of.
They're allowed, aren't they?
No, I'm just saying you're veering into that side of things. But because of that, the stadium for someone who owns businesses suddenly creates another revenue stream for them, and.
N says, I actually think Deitch will get a new deal. What do you think, Ped and Baz?
Who's that?
N.
Nice one.
Yeah. I don't think so, mate. I can't see it. He might do, but I can't see it personally, but we'll see. Epic Respect says, get rid of Deitch. Okay. A lot of people seem to have that kind of opinion. I think there's zero chance we're getting Nuamar now, is there?
I know,
I think I can put that one to bed.
Who?
Nuamar.
I don't think that's happening now, as he text that'll be like that. Go to Fulham.
Yeah.
Or Palace.
Listen, forget what I told you about Fulham before.
Have they found him yet?
He's turning back up now. Once the window shuts, he was back.
I heard he was just running around West London.
just crying. Just jogging and crying.
I was going to say a reference, then I realised you would never get the reference, so I decided not to say the reference. Yeah.
Kevin, no, not shocked at the pace because this has been. John Texter basically said this last week, didn't he? He said someone could come in and take it right at the last minute.
Yeah,
he knew the Friedkins were there. But
it's the way it happened for a lot of people, though, isn't it? Because I think for a lot of people, the impression has been like, last week when the news came out that, you know, they were still interested, that was almost as if they came back to the table. They'd been away and it came back, and then less than a week. No, but the way in the media it's played out is...
If only they just listened to us, then they'd have a better...
It does make...
Are you saying people's lives would be better if they just listened to us?
No, but just on Everton things.
Just
listening to people like Mathew and getting wound up instead of actually listening. But the reason we say things is because we actually talk to people who know the stuff. We don't know it.
No.
So
I just like the idea that he turned his attention to us because he thinks there's too much drama going on at Roma. It's like, welcome to Everton!
Well, if that's his thinking, bloody hell. Give it
I need an apology.
I've had enough of all these mad fans.
Yeah.
Hello, welcome to Everton!
It's like, I've bought this club in England just so it's, you know, for my heart rate and that the doctor said your blood pressure's getting to I, you know, do a job with slightly less stress. So I've found this club in England called Everton. Yeah, and it should be sound, you know.
See, if he had any sense, the first thing he'd look into is building like a monorail from the airport to the new stadium. Because he could just fly in, jump on his own monorail, and just be straight at Bramley Moor in like 5 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Like the saying in Batman, but without getting blown up.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, that sounds a bit like a supervillain.
No, well...
Mike Winnett. Exactly. He knew every step of these negotiations because he had 200 million in it. He had to be consulted. So he was always... Really, he was always ahead of the game because he had the money to go with it. He had the money.
Vested interest, hasn't he? He's had a vested interest.
He's also had the money to go.
That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying, he's had a vested interest since the summer, and it's made it easy because it's £200 million that he's already got in the club.
He's in the room with them, so we can go. Texter, carry on, lad. Carry on.
You find out all the bad stuff. I'm going to sit over here on my yacht.
Don't forget, John Texter had an arrangement with ACAP and had sorted that out, and then Friedkin's gone, hey, I like what you've done there, big text.
Yeah, I like it. Let's have a look at that.
Show me the money. And at least, listen, the positive side to it is it gets rid of ACAP, doesn't it? That's the positive as well.
But it's one less cloud hanging over us as well, isn't it?
Get rid of the majority of the debt. Everton shouldn't be holding this kind of not debt. Debt's not a terrible thing. It's the interest rates. The interest rates are ridiculous. That's been the thing weighing us down, is those interest rates. You can't be paying any more than like you shouldn't be paying any more than a couple of percent. We've been paying 5 to 11%. Like, you are literally, every time that's millions and millions of pounds going out of the club, and that creates debt, because then you've got to find a way to service that debt, and it's just been dragging us down. And you know, anyone who's ever had like bank charges and things like that will understand this. Like, you're struggling to pay your bills, and then they go, oh, this is the thing, and then you suddenly find yourself paying more, and you're just being dragged down and people might be going, we've turned the corner, we're doing better now, we've got rid of that, and we've got rid of that. But if you're having to pay those interest rates, it is an absolute... Jack, you won't know anything like this stuff yet, but the interest rates, when you know, as a house owner, you're looking at that when interest rates change, and they go, some fella decides they've gone up by 0.5%, and you're like, well, there's another 50 quid going out of my bank account, and you haven't done anything. You're sitting in your house, minding your own business.
But it's because we've been desperate, haven't we? Yeah. We've had to borrow to pay what we owe time and time again, and people know it.
Simply because the football club, for many years, hasn't been run properly and doesn't know how to monetize the fan base, and has never known. And obviously, Goodison is part of that, because you're not offering what a new ground can offer.
No, but when you're desperate, people know they can come to you with those terms, and you have to accept it, because there's not really anywhere else you can turn. But you know, we're getting someone in the door now who, you know, has got his own money. Okay, it's not, you know, the mad levels you might see at clubs like Man City and that, but if he's got the money to run a football club, and then you turn... Anyway. No, but you can make the football club profitable, can't you?
I'm saying, even if he had the money of City and Newcastle, you can't spend it.
The previous situation was, we could just get a bucket sponsored, couldn't we, by USM? So if we needed money, we just got something sponsored by USM, and the minute that war broke out and that all stopped, that's when we had to go looking elsewhere. And obviously the USM money, there was no interest on it, clearly.
Yeah.
So it was just like, and you know, who knows where that'll all go, but there was no interest on it, so therefore it was any time we needed it. But soon as that money went, we need outside money, and outside money comes with debt. And like you've just said, when they see you coming, mate, there are people in the world who make a lot of money by mooching off the desperate, and that's
well, few people done that at Everton, didn't he? Much a shame on here. Liam says realistic candidates to replace Dyche are Moyes, Howe, Frank, Carsley. I'd obviously be happy with any of them, but Tuchel would be sweet.
How?
Apparently,
if he leaves his
he's
job
not
at
happy
Newcastle.
at Newcastle, is he? Because of that Phil Mitchell, whatever his name is, Pete Mitchell, is it or something?
Mitchell.
Onwards to the truth says 500 million backed by private equity is going to be problematic as investors will load increased costs to the P&L. See, I asked John about this and he said that's nonsense. So I don't know if it's right or it's wrong. Can't load the club with debt apparently like that. So
You can't anymore, can
No,
you?
you're not allowed
It's
to.
only something like 11% now or
you
something.
can't, so-
They changed the rules because there'd be PSR would be pointless if people could come in and just buy your club on debt. They've changed it since the Glazers, haven't they? Basically. Stop finding negatives anyway. Fuck's sake.
Just be happy and like the video, subscribe, and buy a hoodie.
And like Jack's hair, and buy a hoodie.
Terry EFC 91 says, thank you, Peb and Baz. You've got me through these shocking 3 to 4 years. I'm absolutely buzzing. Okay, mate. Nice one. Let's move forward now. That's what it's all about, isn't it? I'll be amazed if he's still here. But if he is, they'll have to make signs for whoever the manager is. If it's still Sean Dyche, they have to help the manager. Whoever the manager is, they've got to come in and look for a right winger with pace and look for a fullback, a left back, haven't they? And hopefully Patterson, who played an hour yesterday, or Dixon or whoever, can make that right back spot their own. That's what they've got to do. Chicken Lip says, I'd take Moyes, Carsley and Baines. Carsley's not going to come in for anything other than a managing job, is he? Royce says, Carsley as coach and Ralph Rangnick as director of football.
It's a nice little combination, isn't it?
He was mentioned last week, Rangnick, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
With Friedkin as a Doff.
Yeah, I was going to say one of them was going to.
If it's Friedkin, he was once Rangnick in.
You just get lost with it all, don't you?
Yeah.
You get what?
You just get lost with it all, don't you? It's like who said he was going to go with him?
And if it's Texter, it's this Botafogo fella, and everyone's got their own people, haven't they?
Robert Jones on the super chat. Nice one, Robert. Says, onwards and upwards, no looking back now. Fingers crossed, mate. Fingers crossed. Celtic Vape says, Masters, Ornstein, Borson, your boys taken one hell of a beating. I mean, it is funny that all of these had us going into administration as well as some other people consistently for over a year.
Yeah.
Admin's 3 weeks away. I've had shocking news.
The shocking truth.
Do you know who I want to know here from? Keith Winers. I really want Keith Winers as
the other day the pair of them were coming in.
I really want Keith Winers' opinion on this.
Everton's greatest ever CEO.
Because every time you look at Facebook, it's just like Football Insider. What Keith Winers thinks of it, and you're like, the fuck is what Keith Winers
He said thing.
He's the Aberdeen fucking CEO.
Pocky Jedi, or Pokey Jedi. No, Poch is now the manager of the US men's national team.
Has he just suggested them because his name sounds a bit like him?
Possibly. Or he just
I did once meet him and ask him to be the Everton manager.
You did.
What did he say?
He went, I've got a good job. He was the PSG manager at the time.
I
bumped into him in Nighttown in London, as you do.
Yeah.
Would you, if he was available now, is he a manager you would have liked to see him come into
he's certainly one you'd look at. I know he's had struggles at his recent clubs, but you look at what he did at Tottenham and how he carried them forward, and he was someone who had real influence at the club. I think.
What do you make for people who say didn't have what it takes to win stuff though?
I mean,
exactly right for us.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying. I'm not saying. I think he's done a great job.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be difficult at Tottenham because they only had a couple of finals in that period. He had very good players, but they still were a little bit below the, your likes of Liverpool and that. And they were unlucky in that final against Liverpool, obviously with the pen getting given against them. But I still don't think they would have won it.
He still picked their own team in the final.
Yeah.
Harry Kane shouldn't have started.
Yeah,
it should have been Lucas Moura. And who had been
he'd done well, hadn't he?
Yeah, but the thing is, imagine in that final, it was. So after an hour, it was 1-0. Yeah, the penalty decision for Liverpool was mad. But an hour gone and Harry Kane's coming off the bench. That's getting your head going, oh my God, there's Kane. Starting him. Well, I've said this before when Fernando Torres left Liverpool, went to Chelsea, and his debut was against Liverpool. And it was like he wasn't fit. They started him on the Sunday. And I remember Carragher saying this, once they got through the first 15 minutes and Torres hadn't done anything, it was just like, he said, if he'd have been, and I just remember saying this, if he'd have been warming up on the touchline, he said our attention would have been like, oh my God, there's Torres.
So here he is.
And Liverpool ended up winning that game 1-0 at Stamford Bridge. But I think if they would have had Kane coming off the bench, Potts, that night at 1-0.
And you've got half an hour.
All of a sudden, and he can do all of his work because he wasn't fit. He could put everything into that final half an hour. So Potts has made the cut, but he is a good manager and he's done a good job at Chelsea last year with the circus that was going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult for any manager, that, isn't it, as we've seen so far. But no, I think he's a good manager, Potts, and he is one you'd look at if he were available.
But he's gone, so it's irrelevant. Yeah. Dave Murphy says Keith Winers reporting he had a fiver on Friedkin. Corin says, I just want Everton to win football matches and move forward. Exactly that. And listen, at the end of the day, that is the most important thing. That's the only thing. Win football matches now. Get this sorted. Get us some structure in place. Give us a CEO that's real. Get a board in place that actually is active and take the club forward. And like I said before, get the people who are at Everton who are good, give them the ability to be able to do the job properly then and demonstrate the good, and let's take the football club forward. Right, we'll be on more than 8. This has been obviously an extended special because Everton, Farhad Moshiri or Blue Heaven Holdings, have announced that they have sold the football club to the Friedkin Group, subject to approval from the Premier League and something else. Whoever else has to approve it, Theyve in his bedroom. And once that goes through, Dan Friedkin and that group will be the new owners of Everton Football Club. So there you go. Good news at last for us Evertonians. And onwards and upwards. Make sure you like and subscribe. If you're watching more than a game, we'll be on at 3 o'clock. You don't have to go anywhere if you want to just leave your stream on. Just get yourself a drink. We'll be discussing all of the action from the Premier League at the weekend, and obviously we might just reference the Friedkin takeover in that as well, just for shits and giggles. Right, thanks for watching. See you in a bit.